Welcome to Raj Online Trainings. In the series of full stack Java projects, we are in the project Employee Management System, and this project we are going to develop using Spring Boot and Angular. In the last videos, we have created the Spring Boot project, that is Employee Management System in a Spring Toolsuite IDE. And in this project, we have created the entity class, and we are referring to the table, employees table. And this entity class goes with the properties like employee ID, employee name, designation name, employee salary. And we have created the repository interface to manage the CRUD operations. And we have even created the controller class, REST controller class. And in this, we are injecting this employee repository, and we have created a method get all employees by using this employee repository reference. When we call the method find all, it is going to connect to our employees table, and it's going to return this employee records in the form of list employee. And to make it as a REST API, we are using this REST controller. And since we are doing read operation to map this method, in order to enter into this method, the mapping we are doing at the rate get mapping employees. Now, this is the REST API. What is REST API here? http://localhost 8080 employees. So when we run this REST API, when we enter this REST API in browser or Postman tool, it enters into this method and it's going to return all the records. Now let us test this REST API using Postman. Copy this API, come to Postman tool. The method call is get and paste the API. And when we click on send, we are going to get the list of records. Okay, we did not run our project. So running of project is important. Right click on project and say run as Spring Boot app. Now the Tomcat server has started. Now go to Postman tool. Now send the request. Now see, we are getting the records on our console here. In the JSON format, it is displaying our records. Now the main object now. In today's video, the main objective is whatever the records we are getting here in the JSON format, we want to display these records onto our client browser in tabular format. Now we want to do the presentation part. Now we want to make the request from browser end. Then I want to display these all records in tabular format, and that front end part we are going to develop by using Angular. In the last video, we have done the Angular setup, and we have created the Angular project front-end employee management project. Let us open this project in Visual Studio Code. How to open? Code dot, which is going to open our project in the Visual Studio Code. This is the project. And when we run this project using the command ngser to build our Angular project, we use the command ngser. Once the build is successful, we open browser and type the URL http://localhost 4200. So this is the information we are getting from the Angular. So who is taking care of displaying this? In app component, by using this app.component.html, this content is getting displayed to us on our client browser. Now today's video, the objective is what are the records we are getting from our database table. These records we want to display onto the browser in tabular format. So for that, we need to invoke this service now. We need to invoke this service localhost 8080 employees. In order to invoke this service from Angular, we need to make use of a module called as HTTP client module. That we need to add it in the file app.module.ts file. Under imports, we need to add here HTTP client module. We need to add which module? HTTP client module. So in HTTP client module, we are having a class HTTP client. Using that, we can invoke the service running on server. The REST API, we can able to invoke it. So we need to add this statement under imports with the respective import statement here. Now, whatever the data we are getting, that is this details, ID, name, designation, salary. This we want to store it into an object of our Angular. So for that, let us create one employee class. So to create a class in Angular, let us terminate this build process. To create a class, to generate a class, we make use of a command at your prompt, that is ng generate class employee. Ng generate, G indicates generate class employee. See, the class employee.ts file has been created. Now open this employee.ts file. So here it has created a class employee. Let us go with the properties matching with our entity class properties. This is like employee ID, name, designation, salary. Let us go with the same properties over here, so that whatever the data we are getting from REST API, that data we want to store it into the object of this employee. So for that, in this employee class, go with the properties employee ID of type number, and we are going with a value 0. Employee name, it's of type string. We are going with the value a empty space. Then designation, it's of type string with a empty space. The next one, emp salary, it's of type number with a value 0. Now this class is ready. Now employee class is ready to hold our employee details. Now the next step, here we have to create a service class. The main use of service class is the service class should invoke this REST API. The service class should invoke this REST API. So in order to invoke this REST API, we are going to create a service class here. So at your terminal, at your prompt, in our project, we have to use the command ng generate service. S indicates service. I'm going with the service name employee. See, it has created a service class employee.service.ts file. Now you can see the file employee.service.ts. Now in this class, what we need to do, we want to invoke this REST API. So copy this REST API and you make it as a base URL. So go here, private base URL. Go with this value. So this is our base URL. And in constructor, by using HTTP client object, we can invoke this service. So in constructor, go with a property, private, create an object of HTTP client. So we are creating what? HTTP client is a class. For that, we are creating the property. Using this HTTP client, we can invoke this service. Now, for that, let us create a method here. Get employees list observable employee. So whatever the list of records we are getting, whatever the list of employees we are getting, we are going to store it into this employee array. Then open and close curly braces. Now say here return this dot http client dot get. Since the method call is get mapping, so here we have to use the method get employee array, and we have to pass our base URL tilde symbol dollar curly braces this dot base URL, and with again tilde symbol. So this one, this dot base URL should come in between this tilde symbol. Right, now import this employee. Just keep mouse pointer on this error, and when you click a quick fix, the respective import will happen. Add import, the respective import will happen over here. Right, so whenever we call this method get employee list, okay, we are going to invoke this service, this localhost 800 employees, which connects to our class get all employees, and this method will get invoked, which is going to pull out all the records. And once it's going to pull out all the records, it's going to that list of records, it's going to store it into this employee array. So that is the task your service is doing over here when we invoke the method get employee list here. So this completes our service. Now, so in order to invoke this service, let us create one component now. Let us create a component. So to create a component, at your prompt, at your project prompt, here give the command ng generate component. C indicates component list employee. The component will get created with the files. Now go to Angular. Now here we have created C list employee, and you can see the file C list employee component.ts file. List employee component.ts file. So here we need to add the piece of code. Make this list employee implements on init, on initialization, implements on init. So keep mouse pointer on this error, click here quick fix. The respective method will get added here. It will be overridden on ng on init. This method will be overridden for us. So which is present in this on init. Now let us write the code inside this list employee component. So for this, what we need to do, whatever the records we are going to get from this employee array, these records we want to store it into employee array. So for that, go with a property here, employees. It's of type employee array. So whatever the list of records we are getting, that we want to store it into this employee array. That's the reason we are creating a employees array. So add the import statement for your employee. There. Now in this, let us create a method. Provide get employees. Now in this method, what I need to do, I want to invoke this method get employee list present in this employee service class. So if I want to invoke this method, what we need to do, we need to create object of this employee service. So in the constructor, go with the constructor here. Provide employee service. We are creating object of employee service. It's of type employee service. So we are creating object of what here? Employee service. Now by using this employee service, we can call this get employee list. So for that one, how to invoke that method is just you can see here in this method get employees. So here this dot employee service dot get employee list dot subscribe the data what you are getting from your method. This data we want to store it into this dot employees. The data what we are getting, we want to store it into what? This dot employees. Right? So what we have done by using this employee service object, we called the method get employees list, goes to this method. This method is going to invoke our service, which is going to return the list of employees in the form of employee array. That only we are storing into this employees array. So what are the data we are getting from the method? We are storing into employee array. Right? Now the next thing, we need to call this method. On initialization, we want to call this method. So in order to call this method on ng on init, in this method, you invoke this method here like this. This dot get employees. That's it. This dot get employees. Then this method will get invoked. So this completes our component. The list employee component is completed. Now, what are the list of employees we are getting? Now we want to display this list of employees in tabular format. So who is going to take care of presentation of this list component? We do it in list.employee.component.html file. So here we need to display our data in tabular format. So for that, create a table. Now go with the table heading. Now in this, create a table row. In the first row, we go with the table headings like employee name, designation. The next one, salary. So we are going with the table headings. Now go with the table body. In this table body, now we need to traverse this employees array. We need to traverse this employees array. For traversing employee array, we are going to use the Angular directive ng for equal to let employee of employees. Let employee of employees here display the data in tabular format. For every cell, create a table data employee dot employee name. Similar way, td employee dot designation, td employee dot emp salary. Just we are displaying the data present in our employees array in tabular format. That only we are doing in this list employee component.html file. Now, once this is done, now we need to do the routing part. So to do the routing, we need to open this file app routing.module.ts file. Here we need to add the routes. So how to add the routes here is, so here in between the square brackets, routes equal to, say here, path employees. If the path is employees, the component what we want to load here is list employee component. Then if the path is empty, then redirect to employees, then say path match full. That's it. Okay. So if the path is empty, we need to redirect to employees, and here in component we have to say list employee component. Then in order to make this routing work, we need to add an element in this file app.component.html. Here we need to add an element called as router outlet. We need to add an element router outlet to make our routing work. So this element we need to add. Right? Now this completes our code. Now let us run this project. Go to your prompt and how to build the project. ng serve. Once the build is successful, open browser and see, once you refresh, see we are getting our data here. So whatever the employee records we are having in our table, employees table, that we are displaying onto the browser. In tabular format. So the borders are not coming. To get the borders, we can make use of Bootstrap. So to go with the good look and feel, make use of Bootstrap to display the data, tabular data. So how to apply the Bootstrap? Just we have to use the classes here. So just to say table class equal to table striped. Just we are using the class over here. Once we use this Bootstrap class, now see it's displaying the data in a proper format now. So it's showing the data in a tabular format. Right? So just making use of this class present in your Bootstrap. Right? So that's about in this video. So in the next video, we'll be learning how to add an employee, accept the employee details from user, and we are going to create Angular form to accept employee details. Then we are going to insert that data into your employee table using a REST API. That we'll be doing in the next video. Please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.